He threw me out the same night he signed a $200 million contract. No warning, no explanation. Just 2 security guards, a suitcase, and his mistress watching from our doorway wearing my robe. He said I was too small for his new world. And as the door slammed, I looked back at the man who once begged me to believe in his dream. The dream I designed, the company I built, and the future I funded with my father's insurance money. But life has a way of flipping blueprints. Because a year later, when I launched my $5 million mansion, cameras flashing, guests applauding, that same man stood outside the gate, drenched, broke, and begging me for help. He threw me out after his $200M win. But he never imagined I'd build something he could never buy again, a name that stood without him. Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, please click subscribe. Every single click helps us tell stories of courage and truth. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. Because when we share these stories together, we remind each other that even in pain, we can rise. The sound of breaking glass echoed through the living room before the words even hit her. "Pack your things, Ava," Ethan said, his voice low but sharp enough to cut through the music still playing from the party. "You're leaving tonight." For a moment, she thought she'd misheard him. Just an hour ago, reporters were crowding the front gate, cheering his $200 million contract win, calling him the man of the year. Their mansion glowed with champagne lights and loud laughter. And now silence. The kind that presses against your chest until it hurts. Ava stood by the grand staircase in her simple silver dress, barefoot, mascara smudged. "Ethan, what are you talking about?" He didn't look at her. He walked to the cabinet, opened the top drawer, and pulled out an envelope. "Divorce papers," he said. "You'll find a settlement check inside. 10,000. Be grateful." Her breath hitched. 10,000? After everything You did nothing, Ethan snapped, slamming the drawer shut. "I built this company. I got that contract. You were just there." Behind him, a soft voice floated from the hallway. "Ethan, don't raise your voice. You'll upset yourself." Ava turned. Lauren Banks, the project liaison from his company. Younger, taller, confident, the woman reporters had been whispering about all night. She stood there wearing Ava's robe, holding a glass of wine like she owned the house. Ava's heart didn't break, it froze. "You're throwing me out." "For her?" Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he nodded toward the 2 uniformed guards waiting by the door. "They'll help you pack," Lauren smirked, stepping closer. "It's nothing personal, Ava. You should have seen this coming. Ethan's moving up. He deserves someone who fits that world." Ava wanted to scream, but something inside her whispered, "Don't give them the show they want." She straightened her shoulders, walked to the glass table, and picked up the blueprint tube lying there, her father's old sketches, her last tie to herself. "I was there when you had nothing, Ethan," she said quietly. "That $200 million deal? It was built on the design I drew. You just took the credit." Ethan's jaw tightened, eyes flickering just for a second with guilt. Then he turned away. "You'll get over it," Ava nodded slowly, fighting the tremor in her throat. "You're right," she said. "I will." She stepped out into the night barefoot, the marble cold under her feet. The guards closed the gate behind her. She didn't cry. Not yet. She just kept walking, the rolled-up blueprint clutched in her hand like a lifeline. From inside, laughter echoed again, Lauren's laugh, Ethan's voice. A car engine roared to life. Ava looked back once, just in time to see them drive off together, taillights glowing like fire, against the darkness. Her breath came out shaky, but her voice was steady. "One day, you'll wish you hadn't." The wind picked up, rustling the blueprint tube under her arm. The label peeked through the plastic. "Dream house for us." Ava looked at it for a long moment, her jaw tightening. Then, under her breath, she said, "Maybe it's time I build something for myself." What she didn't know then was that this blueprint, the one he'd thrown out with her, would become the foundation of something far greater than Ethan could ever imagine. The morning after Ethan threw her out hit Ava like winter. She woke up on a cracked leather couch in a tiny studio above a laundromat, the smell of detergent heavy in the air. Her feet were still swollen from walking half the night barefoot. The folded blueprint lay beside her, smudged with rainwater and tears. Her phone buzzed nonstop, messages from gossip blogs, friends asking if it was true, and one from an unknown number. "Ethan, don't make this ugly. Sign the papers. Move on." The words burned. She almost replied, but stopped herself. What could she say to a man who had already erased her? A knock on the door made her jump. It was Mrs. Lee, the landlady, short, kind, and curious. You're the new tenant? Rents weekly. No noise, no drama. Ava nodded, voice small. I understand. Mrs. Lee's eyes softened when she noticed Ava's trembling hands. You look like someone who just lost a war. Eat something, dear. When the door shut, Ava finally broke down. Silent tears. She let them fall, not for Ethan, but for every version of herself she had silenced to make him shine. The woman who'd once believed in him, the woman who'd designed his empire and called it theirs. Her mind replayed their past in fragments, the nights they worked from their kitchen table, her drawing while he dreamed aloud. The time she'd used her late father's $150,000 insurance check to save his business when banks refused him. She remembered his promise, when we make it big, you'll design our forever home. Now, she was the one without a home. Ava opened the blueprint tube and unrolled it on the floor. The paper had faded at the edges, but her handwriting was still there. Curves, angles, notes in pencil. The house she'd once drawn for them looked like freedom now. She whispered, I built his world. Maybe I can build mine again. Her stomach rumbled, breaking her trance. She found an old wallet, a few crumpled dollars left. She walked down to the diner below the laundromat, ordered the cheapest meal on the menu, toast and coffee. As she sat by the window, she overheard two construction workers talking. Cole Development signed a $200 million deal last night. That man's unstoppable, the other replied. Unstoppable? Or just lucky he had the right woman behind him? Ava's chest tightened. She turned to look. The man speaking was old, white-haired, gentle-eyed. He reminded her of someone she couldn't quite place. He noticed her listening and smiled. You an architect? Ava blinked. I used to be. He nodded thoughtfully. Used to be? Once a builder. Always a builder. I'm Howard. Worked with your father years ago. Funny seeing his eyes again. The coffee trembled in her hands. Howard, her father's investor friend. The man who'd once told her, don't let small men measure your worth. He looked at her, then at the blueprint, peeking from her bag. If that's what I think it is, he said slowly, you might want to dust it off. I've been waiting for someone who knows how to draw homes that breathe. Ava froze. For the first time since last night, a spark lit behind her eyes, small, but real. She didn't know it yet, but that chance meeting with Mr. Howard over burnt toast and weak coffee would become the turning point of everything Ethan once thought he owned. The different, polished sound of the diner's doorbell startled Ava. She almost spilled her coffee as Mr. Howard's calm but commanding voice cut through the noise. Let's talk somewhere quiet, he said. His tone wasn't pushy, it was steady, the kind of tone used by people who'd seen storms before. Ava followed him to a corner booth, unsure if this was pity or providence. Mr. Howard was in his late 60s, silver hair, a steady gaze, and hands that looked like they'd built things, not just managed them. He stirred his coffee without sugar. Your father and I used to argue about design, he began. He believed a home should tell a story. You believed the same. Ava blinked. You remember me? He smiled faintly. I remember a little girl who drew blueprints on napkins while her dad and I talked business. The words hit deep. For the first time in days, Ava felt seen. Mr. Howard leaned forward. I saw your designs online last year, eco-luxury homes. Practical but elegant. I told myself. Whoever designed these understands life, not just space. And today, I see it's you. Ava's heart pounded. Those sketches were personal. I never meant. Maybe it's time they weren't, he interrupted gently. He opened a folder and slid a few papers toward her building contracts, concept outlines, funding projections. I'm starting a new development. Sustainable, community-based luxury homes. I want you to lead the design wing. Ava stared at the numbers. The salary wasn't the shock the ownership clause was. He was offering her partnership. But why me? She asked, her voice trembling. You could hire anyone. Mr. Howard looked her dead in the eye. Because you build like your father with soul, and because the world has enough Ethans pretending to be visionaries. It's time the real builders took credit. The air stilled. Ava's throat tightened. Tears almost came, but she swallowed them. I don't have much, she whispered. No office, no team, Not even a proper computer. He nodded. You have ideas. The rest, I'll handle. One condition, it's under your name. Not a man's. Not a company's. Yours. The words felt like oxygen after drowning. She hesitated only once, thinking of Ethan. His laughter, the night he threw her out. Then she straightened. Deal. They shook hands. His grip was firm, fatherly. For a second she saw her dad smiling through him, the same eyes, same belief. Mr. Howard stood. I'll send over the paperwork. And Ava, he added, voice low. Whatever he took from you, build something he can't touch. When he left, Ava sat there for a long time, staring at her reflection in the coffee cup. The exhaustion in her face was still there, but now, so was purpose. She reached into her bag and pulled out the old blueprint. With a pencil, she crossed out the title, Dream House for Us, and wrote Haven House by me. Her hand trembled, but she smiled. What she didn't know was that while she was sketching her comeback, Ethan was already building his downfall, one careless lie at a time. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please, take a second to do it now. Every click, every share, every comment helps us keep telling stories that give strength to women and children who've been broken, forgotten, or silenced. When you subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel, you're standing beside survivors, saying their stories matter. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss a story that could change a life. And in the comments, tell us, where are you watching from and what part of this story spoke to your heart. The first day Ava walked into Howard Development Group, her heart raced like she was stepping onto a battlefield she once lost. The air buzzed with phone calls, printers, and the sharp rhythm of heels on marble. Her name had already been added to the glass door. Ava Reed, lead architect, AR Studio, partnered with Howard Group. Seeing it in print almost didn't feel real. Mr. Howard met her in the lobby. Welcome home, builder, he said with a kind smile. We start fast here. They moved to a large conference room filled with young architects, energetic, hopeful faces. One of them, Sophie, a bright-eyed intern, barely 24, whispered, You're the Ava Reed? The one who designed the curved villa plan everyone's been sharing online? Ava smiled shyly. That was me, but it's just a start. Mr. Howard clapped his hands to get everyone's attention. Team, this is the mind behind our next big project. Her designs breathe. Learn from her. The intensity in his tone reminded Ava that this wasn't charity. This was trust, and trust came with pressure. They began brainstorming ideas for their first joint project, eco-luxury housing that blends nature and innovation. Ava's hand moved across paper like it had been waiting for this moment. Her sketches flowed: curved glass walls, open courtyards, rooftop gardens. She didn't just design, she rebuilt herself line by line. When the meeting ended, Mr. Howard leaned close and said quietly, This is your second life, Ava. Don't design for revenge, design for freedom. But when she got home that evening to her tiny studio, freedom still felt far away. Bills sat unopened. Her old phone flashed with new headlines. Ethan Cole expands. Cole Developments acquires 3 new projects after $200M contract. The photo beneath showed Ethan and Lauren smiling for cameras, champagne glasses raised. Lauren's diamond ring glittered like a cruel echo of everything Ava once wore. She stared at the screen until her eyes blurred. The jealousy burned, but beneath it, something steadier grew. Determination. That night, she worked until her hand cramped. She reworked an old design, a mansion built on green technology, self-sustaining and elegant. The name on the top corner, Haven House. It wasn't for him, it wasn't even for her. It was for the version of herself that refused to stay broken. Hours passed. The city outside quieted, but her studio lights stayed on. She pinned blueprint after blueprint on the wall until the place looked like a museum of resilience. At dawn, she stood back and whispered, He built with arrogance. I'll build with grace. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number lit the screen. Unknown. Miss Reed, this is the city licensing office. We've received an unusual inquiry about your new company registration. Someone's been asking who owns AR Studio. Do you know an Ethan Cole? Ava's hand froze above the phone. Her reflection in the window looked calm, but her pulse thundered. She didn't know it yet, but Ethan's curiosity about the woman behind AR Studio would soon turn into an obsession, one that would drag both of them back into a storm Only one of them would survive. The call came just after midnight. Ava jolted awake to the sound of her phone buzzing across the desk. "Half asleep," she answered, thinking it might be a client. A deep voice came through, hesitant but familiar. "Ava, it's me." Her grip tightened on the phone. That voice, smooth, confident, and once, her entire world. "Ethan." She didn't say a word. The silence stretched long enough for him to fill it. I didn't know you were still in the city," he continued. "I heard your company's name today. AR Studio. Those initials, they sounded familiar." Ava's heart raced, but her tone was calm. And I wanted to see if you're okay," he said softly. "You left in a hurry that night." A humorless laugh escaped her lips. "You mean the night you threw me out with security guards and your mistress watching?" He sighed, fake regret coating every word. "You know, I didn't mean it like that. Things were complicated." "Complicated," she repeated, her voice trembling with quiet anger. "You humiliated me, Ethan. You made sure I had nothing, not even my name in your company's paperwork. You made it simple, remember?" For a second, he didn't answer. Then he muttered, "You always had a dramatic way of remembering things." The line went dead. Ava stared at the phone, the old ache crawling back into her chest. He hadn't called to apologize. He'd called because he'd heard her name. Because suddenly, she existed again in a way that threatened him. She got up, pacing. Every lamp in her small studio flickered over the wall of blueprints. Her reflection in the window looked different, now tired, sharper, colder. She whispered to herself, "He's starting to notice." The next morning, she walked into Howard's office. Mr. Howard was already reading the day's financial paper. Without looking up, he said, "I heard Ethan Cole called the licensing office yesterday. Did he contact you?" She nodded slowly. "He did." Howard set down his coffee. "Then it begins." Ava frowned. "What do you mean?" He leaned forward. "Men like Ethan don't handle curiosity well. When they start looking, they keep digging until they destroy what they can't control. You need to be prepared." Her stomach turned. "Prepared for what?" He handed her a sealed brown folder. Inside were legal documents, proof of her sole ownership of AR Studio, trust papers securing her intellectual property, and Howard's personal letter of backing. "If he ever tries to challenge you," Howard said firmly, "these papers make you untouchable. But promise me don't let hate distract you. Focus on building, not breaking." Ava nodded. She felt the first flicker of fear, but also something fiercer. Readiness. That evening, she received another message. This time, from an unknown sender. It was a photo, a zoomed-in picture of her walking into Howard Group's building. Beneath it, just two words, "Found you." Her heart stopped. The phone slipped from her fingers. Ava didn't know that Ethan's search had already gone too far, and that the person he'd send next would not come with words, but with a warning she'd never forget. The knock came hard, too hard for a friendly visit. Ava froze mid-step, her coffee mug trembling in her hand. She wasn't expecting anyone. The sound came again, sharper this time. 3 knocks. Through the peephole, she saw him, Marcus, Ethan's personal driver for years. Tall, quiet, loyal to money more than people. He stood there in a black suit holding an envelope. Ava's pulse quickened. She opened the door just a few inches. "Marcus," she said carefully. "What do you want?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Cole asked me to deliver this personally. Said it's important." He held out the envelope. It had her name scrawled across it in Ethan's handwriting, the same one that once signed their marriage certificate, the same one that erased her from his company. "I don't want it," Ava said, her voice low. Marcus's tone softened. "He said you would. He's not doing well, Mrs." He stopped himself. "Miss Reed." Something flickered in his eyes, guilt. He added quickly, "You didn't hear this from me, but things aren't as perfect as they look. Miss Banks, Lauren, she's been taking money from company accounts. He's losing control." Ava's eyes narrowed. "And he thinks sending you to me will fix that?" Marcus shook his head. "He doesn't know what he wants. He's drinking again, screaming your name." He said, "Find her before I lose everything." The words hung heavy in the air. Ava didn't move. "You've done your job," she said, closing the door gently but firmly. She didn't open the envelope. Not yet. She walked to her desk, sat down, and stared at the wall of designs, Haven House pinned at the center. Her mind swirled. Why now? Why reach out when his world was crumbling? Her hand trembled as she finally tore the envelope open. Inside was a short letter and a single photo, a picture of them on their first construction site years ago, before success changed him. The note read, "You were right. You built me. I just didn't see it then. I need your help. Ava, just one meeting. Please." She dropped the letter. Every part of her screamed no. But another voice whispered from the back of her mind, the same voice that once believed in him, the one that still wanted closure. She called Mr. Howard that evening and told him everything. He listened quietly, then said, "If you go, don't go as a woman who was wronged. Go as a woman who owns her name now. People like Ethan feed on weakness. Show him you've outgrown his shadow." Ava nodded slowly. "I'll go. Not for him. For me." Howard smiled faintly. "Good. Then bring your designs. Let him see what he lost." When she hung up, the night felt heavier. She placed Ethan's letter beside the blueprint of Haven House, the paper edges touching like past and future trying to meet. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again this time, not from Marcus or Ethan, but from an unknown number. The message was short and chilling. "Don't trust him. The meeting isn't what it seems." Ava's hand went cold. The sender's name appeared a second later, Lauren Banks. Ava didn't know that by the time she met Ethan again, Lauren's warning would prove true and the meeting would set off a chain of betrayals that no one could stop. Rain poured in sheets as Ava stood outside the tall glass tower of Cole Developments. Lightning flashed, turning the building into a mirror of everything she once built and everything she had lost. Her reflection stared back, stronger now, older, harder. She took a slow breath and walked in. The lobby was just as she remembered: marble floors, gold-trimmed walls, the faint scent of Ethan's expensive cologne still hanging in the air. But the energy was different now. Nervous, employees whispered in corners, their smiles brittle. The company that once shone like a diamond now looked like a cracked mirror. The receptionist's eyes widened when she saw Ava. "Miss Reed?" she stammered. "Mr. Cole is waiting in the executive office." Ava's heels echoed through the hall as she walked toward the same office that used to be their shared dream. She gripped her folder of blueprints tightly, reminding herself, "You're not the same woman who walked out of here barefoot." When she opened the door, Ethan stood by the window, staring out at the storm. His suit was wrinkled. His hair was messier than she'd ever seen it. The powerful man from the headlines looked tired. He turned, forcing a weak smile. "You came." "I almost didn't," she replied. Silence filled the room, heavy, charged, old. Ethan finally spoke. "Lauren's gone. She took money, clients, and half the board. The company's falling apart. I didn't know who else to call." Ava studied him carefully. "You didn't call me for help, Ethan. You called because you're scared." His expression broke, guilt flashing in his eyes. "Maybe both." He sat down, rubbing his temples. "You were the only one who ever understood how this business really worked." Ava's voice was calm but firm. "You mean the woman whose designs built your empire? The one you erased from every document?" He looked up. "I was wrong, Ava. I see that now." She felt a familiar ache tug inside her, but she pushed it down. "Apologies don't rebuild trust." He leaned forward. "You have to believe me. I can make this right. We could rebuild together. A new partnership. I'll give you full credit this time." Her eyes narrowed. "You don't want a partner, Ethan. You want a savior." The words hit like thunder. He opened in his mouth to respond, but then her phone buzzed on the desk. A single message. She frowned, glancing down. "Unknown. Leave now. He's lying. You're being recorded." Ava's stomach dropped. She looked around the room, and that's when she noticed the small red light blinking near the corner bookshelf. A hidden camera. Her eyes met Ethan's. He froze, realizing she'd seen it. "Ethan," she whispered, voice trembling with disbelief. "You set me up?" He stood quickly. "Ava, it's not what you think." But she was already backing toward the door, her pulse racing. "Goodbye, Ethan," she said, voice cold. "Whatever this is, it ends here." She turned and left as thunder cracked outside, echoing through the hollow halls of the empire she'd once helped him build. What Ava didn't see was the shadow following her out of the building. The one carrying a briefcase full of evidence that would soon expose both Ethan's lies and the dangerous secret hidden inside her own designs. Ava slammed her apartment door shut and leaned against it, chest heaving. The storm outside hadn't stopped, but now it felt like it was inside her. Her mind raced back to the moment she saw that red light blinking in Ethan's office, proof that he hadn't called her for peace. He'd called her for evidence. Her phone buzzed again, another message from the same unknown number that had warned her before. Unknown. You were lucky this time. He planned to record your voice and twist it as proof you leaked company secrets. Ava's fingers trembled. She replied quickly. Who are you? The typing dots appeared, then stopped. No reply. She locked every window and pulled down the blinds. Then she poured herself a glass of water, but her hands shook so hard half of it spilled. She sat at her desk, staring at the folder of blueprints she'd brought to show Ethan, now glad she hadn't opened them. Minutes passed in silence, except for the hum of her laptop. Her reflection in the black screen looked older than she remembered, sharper, more guarded. She whispered, "Why can't he just leave me alone?" The phone rang suddenly. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Don't hang up," said a low female voice. "It's Lauren." Ava's blood ran cold. "Why are you calling me?" Lauren sighed. "Because Ethan's worse than you think. I worked with him. I thought I could handle him. I was wrong." Ava stayed silent, waiting. "He's desperate," Lauren continued. "He's losing everything, investors, contracts, even his house. That recording wasn't just for insurance. He's trying to pin fraud on you. He told people you sold designs from his company to Howard Group." Ava's breath caught. "That's insane. Those designs were mine." "I know," Lauren said quickly, "but his lawyer doesn't. He's already prepping a case file with your name on it. Once it's public, everything you've built will crumble." Ava gripped the desk. "Then why tell me this?" "You hate me." Lauren's voice cracked just once. "Because I hate him more now. And because if he goes down, he'll drag anyone near him with him, including you." Ava's anger slowly melted into something heavier, dread. "What do you want from me?" Lauren hesitated. "There's a flash drive proof of what he's done. I hid it. If you get it before he finds it, you can clear your name and destroy him. Meet me tomorrow night, 8 p.m., at the old pier." The line went dead. Ava sat frozen. Every instinct screamed trap, yet her gut whispered truth. She looked at her father's old locket, resting on the desk beside the blueprints. Inside was a picture of her family before everything fell apart, her reminder of what integrity meant. She exhaled slowly. "If this is a trap, I'll end it my way." Lightning flashed through the window, washing the room in white light. For a second, a shadow moved outside, tall, still, watching. Ava's hand reached for the curtain but stopped halfway. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Who's out there?" No answer, just the storm. By the next evening, Ava would learn that the shadow outside her window wasn't Ethan, and that the person watching her held the key to both her downfall and her redemption. Waves crashed hard against the old wooden pier as Ava stepped into the night. The wind bit through her coat, carrying the salty scent of the ocean and something else, fear. The pier was nearly empty, except for the flicker of a lone street light and the faint hum of a passing ship. She checked her phone. 7:57 p.m., 3 minutes early. Her heart thudded in rhythm with the waves. Every instinct warned her to turn back, but curiosity and the desperate need for the truth pushed her forward. Lauren's message replayed in her head. "There's a flash drive, proof of what Ethan did. Don't trust anyone." She clutched the folded letter from Ethan in her pocket, a reminder of how far lies could go. The boards creaked under her heels as she walked toward the end of the pier. Then she saw her Lauren Banks, leaning against the railing, hair whipping in the wind. Her once glamorous look now shadowed by exhaustion. Gone were the jewels, the designer dresses. She looked human. Ava approached slowly. "You came." Lauren turned, managing a faint, tired smile. "I almost didn't. He's watching everything. I had to make sure I wasn't followed." Her voice shook, and for the first time, Ava saw fear in the woman who had once helped destroy her marriage. Lauren reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small black flash drive wrapped in tissue. "This is it. Ethan's real accounts, hidden payments, forged permits, bribery, everything. He's been cooking the books for years. He used my name, and now he's trying to erase both of us." Ava stared at the drive. "Why give it to me?" Lauren's eyes glistened. "Because I can't fix what I did to you, but I can help end him." Ava hesitated, then slowly took the drive. Their fingers brushed brief, fragile, human. "I don't trust easily," Ava said quietly. "Neither do I," Lauren replied. "That's why I didn't tell anyone else." The wind howled louder, shaking the boards beneath them. Suddenly, headlights flashed from the road leading to the pier. A dark SUV screeched to a stop. Lauren's face drained of color. No! He found us. Ethan's voice roared from the distance. Lauren! Ava! Step away from each other! Panic tore through the air. Lauren backed up, shaking her head. He can't get this drive. Promise me, Ava. Gunfire shattered the night. The echo was deafening. Ava screamed, ducking behind a crate as Lauren fell to the ground, blood seeping through her coat. The flash drive clattered near Ava's feet. Lauren! She cried, crawling forward. Lauren's lips trembled. Run! He'll kill you too. Ava's eyes blurred with tears as she grabbed the flash drive and bolted down the pier, the sound of footsteps pounding behind her. She didn't look back until she reached the end, only to find Ethan's figure stepping out from the shadows, blocking the exit. His voice was calm, cold, terrifying. You never learn, do you, Ava? Her pulse thundered, the flash drive burning like fire in her hand. The next moment would decide everything because one of them would walk away with the truth, and the other would never walk away again. The gunshot still rang in Ava's ears as she stared at Ethan blocking her path, the ocean crashing violently behind him. The wind whipped through her hair, the wooden pier trembling under their weight. He took a slow step forward, eyes wild and glassy. You shouldn't have come here, he hissed. Now look what you made me do. Ava's gaze darted past him. Lauren's body lay, motionless by the railing, her pale hands stretched toward the dark water. Tears stung Ava's eyes, but her grip on the flash drive tightened. Ethan, she said, her voice shaking. You killed her. He smirked, but there was a tremor in his voice. I didn't kill anyone. You were both here. No witnesses. By morning the police will know you shot her. The words struck like thunder. Ava stepped back. You're insane. No, he said coldly. I'm desperate. He lunged for her. The two crashed against the pier railing, struggling in the wind. The flash drive slipped from Ava's hand, skidding toward the edge. She shoved him back with all her strength, dove after it, and caught it just before it fell into the sea. Ethan grabbed her arm, yanking her up roughly. Give it to me, Ava. You think this will save you? Her voice rose over the wind. It won't save me. It will destroy you. She slammed her knee into his side and broke free, sprinting down the pier as headlights from a distant patrol car flashed through the fog. Ethan shouted her name, but she didn't look back. She ran until her lungs burned, clutching the flash drive like it was oxygen. When she finally reached the road, she flagged down the patrol car. Two officers stepped out, startled by her disheveled state. Ma'am, are you hurt? She could barely breathe. There's been a shooting at the pier, please. The officers radioed for backup and rushed toward the scene. Ava stood there, trembling, as the flashing red and blue lights disappeared into the distance. For the first time that night, she let herself cry quiet, shaking sobs that came from years of pain. She thought of Lauren's final words, he'll kill you too. But she also thought of Mr. Howard's voice, protect your name before they try to own it again. By dawn, she was sitting in Howard's office, her clothes still damp, the flash drive on his desk between them. Howard's face darkened as he read the files inside, forged documents, hidden transfers, and evidence of bribes tied to Ethan's $200 million contract. This is enough to bury him, he said quietly. But it will also bring attention to you. The media will know your name and his. Ava wiped her tears, her voice steady. I'm done hiding. Howard leaned back, proud but worried. Then we need to go public carefully. The right moment could change everything. She nodded. Then let's plan it. Outside, the morning sun cut through the clouds, painting the city gold, but in the reflection of the glass window behind them, a dark figure lingered across the street, watching her every move. Ava didn't know that before the truth could be revealed, Ethan would strike first, and his next move wouldn't just aim to destroy her career. It would aim to end her life. The explosion ripped through the quiet street like a thunderclap. Glass shattered. Flames erupted from Ava's parked car, turning the morning calm into chaos. People screamed and ran as smoke filled the air. Ava stood frozen at the entrance of Howard Development Group, her body trembling, eyes wide. Just seconds earlier, she'd been about to step into that car. Mr. Howard rushed out from the building, shouting, Ava, are you hurt? She couldn't answer. The shock pinned her in place. The heat from the flames pressed against her skin, and the only thing louder than the sirens was the pounding of her own heart. When she finally found her voice, it came out as a whisper. "That was meant for me." Howard's expression hardened. Then it started. Ethan's panicking. Firefighters pulled up within minutes, dousing the flames while police roped off the area. Reporters began gathering, flashing cameras and shouting questions. Ava turned away, tears mixing with the smoke. Howard placed a hand on her shoulder. "You need protection now. Until this evidence goes public, you're a target." Ava shook her head slowly, trying to breathe. He wouldn't go this far. Not Ethan. But deep down, she knew he would. They returned inside, the chaos fading behind the thick glass doors. Ava sat in Howard's office, still shaking, while he made phone calls to the police and their legal team. On the table between them lay the flash drive, the one thing standing between her life and Ethan's empire. Howard hung up the phone and looked at her. "I've arranged for a private investigator, former law enforcement. He'll keep you safe until we go to court." Ava nodded, her voice small. "I never thought it would come to this. I just wanted peace." Howard sighed. "Men like Ethan don't let go of control easily. You took away his illusion of power. That makes you dangerous to him." Ava closed her eyes. Images flashing through her mind, Lauren's lifeless body, Ethan's eyes at the pier, the red light of the camera. Every time she tried to escape him, he found another way to pull her back into his storm. "I'm tired of being hunted," she said finally. "If he wants a war, I'll give him one, but on my terms." Howard smiled faintly, proud of her strength. "Then it's time the world knows your side of the story." Ava looked at the flash drive. "Tomorrow morning, I'll hold a press conference. Every lie, every forged paper, every name, I'll expose it all." Howard nodded. "I'll make the arrangements." Ava stood, steadier now. "If Ethan thinks he can burn me down, he's forgotten something." Howard raised a brow. "What's that?" She looked out the window, watching the last of the smoke fade into the sky. "I'm the one who knows how to build from ashes." The phone on Howard's desk rang sharply. He answered, and his face instantly drained of color. He looked up at her, voice trembling. "Ava, it's the police. They found something at the explosion site." Ava's stomach tightened. "What?" He swallowed hard. "They found a body, and they think it's you." As the city prepared for her funeral, Ava realized Ethan's next mistake. He thought she was dead, but she was about to come back to life in a way that would destroy him completely. The news spread like wildfire. Architect Ava Reed confirmed dead in car explosion. The headline flashed across every screen, every phone, every whispering crowd in the city. Inside his penthouse, Ethan Cole stared at the television, eyes hollow. A tumbler of whiskey trembled in his hand. The news anchor's voice was calm, almost cruel. "Authorities believe the explosion was targeted. Police have not named a suspect, but sources say it may be linked to her ongoing conflict with businessman Ethan Cole." Ethan hurled the glass at the screen. It shattered, shards falling like broken promises. "She did this to herself," he shouted to no one. "She was going to destroy me." But behind the anger was fear, deep, crawling, unspoken fear, because for the first time, he realized he hadn't actually seen the body. Across town, in a quiet cabin hidden behind rows of oak trees, Ava Reed sat alive. The flicker of a single candle reflected in her eyes as she read the police report on Howard's laptop. The charred remains found in the wrecked car weren't hers, they belonged to an unidentified woman of similar height and build. Mr. Howard stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear. "Everything's set," he said. "The world thinks you're gone. That gives us the upper hand." Ava's voice was calm, but her hands shook slightly as she held the flash drive. "I never wanted this, Howard. I didn't want to disappear." He turned toward her, face serious. "You didn't disappear. You outsmarted him. The woman in that car, the one he thinks he killed, that was the bait. You've given us time." Ava exhaled slowly. "Time for what?" "To finish building what you started," Howard said firmly. "Your father's land, your mansion, Haven House. If you unveil it now, you'll not only expose Ethan but rise above him. The world will see who the real architect is." Her gaze softened. Haven House, the home she once dreamed of building for love, now reborn from betrayal. "But if Ethan finds out I'm alive," she began. Howard interrupted. "Then we'll be ready. He thinks he's won. Let him gloat. Every lie he tells now digs his own grave." Ava leaned back. eyes distant, thinking of everything she'd lost: her marriage, her safety, her peace. And yet, through all of it, she'd found something greater: clarity. "I used to think justice was about revenge," she whispered. "Now I see it's about truth." Howard smiled faintly. "Then let's give him the truth in front of the whole world." Ava nodded, determination replacing grief. "We'll rebuild the mansion. We'll launch it under my name. And when the cameras roll, Ethan will finally see who he tried to destroy." Howard extended his hand. "To resurrection." Ava shook it, steady and sure. Outside, the first light of dawn broke through the trees, washing the cabin in gold, the color of rebirth. Then, her phone buzzed on the table. No caller ID, just one message. "You can fake death, Ava, but not from me." Her eyes widened. The sender's name appeared seconds later: Ethan Cole. The game had just turned deadly again, and when Ava stepped back into the world, she wouldn't just return as his ex-wife. She would return as his reckoning. Ethan Cole's victory party glowed beneath chandeliers, a desperate show of power for a man crumbling inside. Reporters snapped photos, investors forced smiles, and champagne flowed like he hadn't lost half his company to audits and scandal. At the center of it all, Ethan lifted his glass. "To new beginnings," he said, voice slick, false confidence barely holding. Cameras flashed. His lawyer leaned over and whispered, "The investigation's closing soon. Once that's buried, you're clear." Ethan smirked. "I always land on my feet." But as the crowd applauded, the ballroom doors opened and the air changed. Every whisper stopped. Every head turned. A woman stood in the doorway, tall, poised, draped in an ivory gown that shimmered beneath the lights. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Then the room gasped in unison. It was Ava Reed, alive. Her steps were calm, deliberate, echoing against the marble floor as she crossed the room. Every camera turned toward her. Ethan's glass slipped from his hand, shattering at his feet. He went pale, mouth open. You're dead." Ava's voice was soft, controlled, but her eyes were sharp as steel. "You've said that before, Ethan, and yet here I am." The reporters swarmed instantly, shouting over one another. "Miss Reed, were you targeted? Is Ethan Cole responsible? How did you survive?" Ethan staggered back, struggling for composure. "This is ridiculous. She's lying. This is some trick." Ava raised a hand. "Enough." The crowd fell silent. She turned to the cameras. "You've heard his story for years. Tonight, you'll hear mine." She reached into her clutch and pulled out a silver flash drive, the same one Lauren had died for. Inside this drive are the real accounts, documents, and emails proving how Ethan Cole built his $200 million empire through fraud, stolen designs, and blood money. Gasps rippled across the room. Ethan's lawyer whispered frantically, "She can't prove that." But before he finished, two officers in plain clothes stepped forward from the crowd, flashing badges. "Actually, she can," one said. "We've reviewed the contents of that drive. A warrant has already been issued for Mr. Cole's arrest." Ethan's world collapsed in seconds. He spun toward Ava, fury overtaking shock. "You set me up!" She held his gaze calmly. "No, Ethan. You set yourself up. You just didn't think the woman you threw away would survive long enough to show the truth." The officers grabbed his arms. Cameras clicked like thunder. He shouted as they led him away, his voice echoing across the hall. "You'll regret this, Ava. You don't know what you've started." Ava stood still, watching him disappear. The flashlights, the noise, the chaos, all of it faded into a hum as her heartbeat steadied. For the first time in years, she felt free. "Mr." Howard approached quietly from the side. "It's done," he said. Ava exhaled, a trembling smile breaking through. "No," she murmured. "It's only beginning." Outside the ballroom, unnoticed in the shadows, a woman in a dark coat watched Ava's every move, a faint scar on her cheek glinting under the light. Ava didn't know that the woman watching her wasn't a stranger but someone from her past, returning with a secret that could shatter her victory before sunrise. The news of Ethan Cole's arrest spread faster than the fire that had once almost killed her. Every headline screamed her name, Ava Reed, the woman who returned from the dead to expose a millionaire's lies. But while the world buzzed, Ava stayed silent. She had one last thing to finish the promise she made to herself: Haven House. The scene opened with bright morning light cutting through the glass walls of the newly completed mansion. Reporters gathered outside the iron gates, drones circling the sky, waiting for a glimpse of the woman who had outsmarted power itself. Inside, Ava stood in the center of the grand atrium, sunlight spilling over the white marble floors she'd designed herself. The air smelled of cedar and new beginnings. Her reflection glimmered on the polished walls, but she looked different now, calm, strong, unshaken. She adjusted the microphone, her fingers steady. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice echoing through the grand hall. "Today, I open Haven House, not just as a mansion, but as a symbol of something bigger: survival, truth, and the strength to rebuild." Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled notes. She continued, eyes shining. "This home stands on the same land where I once planned a life with someone who betrayed me. But betrayal doesn't end a story, it begins a new one. I was thrown out with nothing, but I learned that when people take your foundation, you can still rebuild stronger." She paused as applause broke out, but her expression softened when she spotted Mr. Howard standing quietly at the back, pride in his eyes. He gave her a small nod, the kind that said, "You did it." After the ceremony, she walked alone through the garden terrace. The sound of wind chimes filled the air. She placed her hand on the stone plaque near the entrance, dedicated to the women who build even after being broken. For the first time in years, her heart felt light. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "Dad, I did it." Then, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her chest tightened, old instincts never fully died. She hesitated, then answered. A woman's voice came through, smooth and familiar. "Hello, Ava. It's been a long time." Ava frowned. "Who is this? You don't remember me?" The voice said softly. "Lauren's sister? You used to work with her before everything." Ava froze. "What do you want?" "Just a meeting. You see, Lauren didn't tell you everything before she died. There's more to what Ethan was hiding, and it's not over." The line went dead. Ava stood still, the warm sunlight suddenly feeling cold. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then she turned toward the mansion behind her, the building that symbolized her rise from ashes. The world thought the storm had passed. But in Ava's eyes, something flickered, not fear this time, but readiness. She whispered to herself, steady and sure. "Then let them come." The camera panned wide, Haven House gleaming against the horizon, the woman who built it standing tall at its gates. Because sometimes, victory isn't the end of a story, it's only the beginning of a legend.